Rain fell gently on the steel roofs of the alien city of Dravik. Neon lights from tall signs glowed in the mist, casting colors across the wet pavement. People of all kinds, tall aliens with scales, short ones with glowing eyes, and a few humans moved through the narrow walkways of the trade district. In one corner of the city, hidden behind high fences and guarded by tall beings with sharp weapons, was the slave market of Rithu. Here, people from different worlds were sold like items. Some were strong workers, others were good with machines. A few were taken for reasons no one liked to speak about. Darren, a young human trader, walked into the market with his coat soaked from the rain. His boots made soft splashes as he stepped onto the dirty floor. He was not rich, not important, but he had saved enough credits from fixing broken machines. He came here for a reason, but even he wasn't sure what it truly was. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was because he hated how the universe had become. As he passed the cages, he saw sad eyes staring back at him. Most looked away when he walked by. Some didn't even blink. They had lost all hope. Darren felt a tightness in his chest, but kept moving. A seller with 4 arms and green skin approached him. "You looking for something, human?" the seller asked in a deep voice. "I'm just looking," Darren replied, trying to keep his voice calm. "Got strong ones from Riggin," the seller said. "Fast ones from Elif, even one with 3 arms, good for multitasking." Darren ignored him and kept walking. Then he heard a soft sound like humming. It was coming from the far corner. Curious, he walked toward it and saw a small cage. Inside was a girl with short dark hair and tired eyes. She sat with her knees pulled close and was humming a quiet tune. Unlike the others, she wasn't silent. She hadn't given up. "What's her story?" Darren asked the seller. "She's from a planet called Valari," the seller said. "Old place. Not many left. Pretty thing, quiet, knows a few languages. No strength, though. Could teach, maybe, or just stand round and look nice." "What's her name?" "She doesn't talk much. Calls herself Nara, I think. She understands, though. You want her?" Darren looked at her again. Her eyes met his. For a moment, he saw a flicker of something hope. Or was it fear? How much for her? Not much. No powers, no speed. No value to the rich buyers. "You can have her for 500 credits. Darren thought for a long moment. He could walk away. He could save his credits. But something deep inside told him he had to do this. He reached into his jacket, pulled out the pouch, and handed over the credits, unlocked the cage. The seller gave a lazy nod to one of the guards, who pushed a button on a nearby wall. With a loud click, the cage opened. Nara didn't move at first. She just looked at Darren, confused. "You're free now," he said gently. She stood slowly, unsure of what to do. Darren reached out his hand. "Come on, let's get out of here." She stepped out and took his hand. Her touch was cold. She was thin to thin. Darren led her away from the market as the seller laughed behind them. "Good luck, human. Don't expect thanks from them. They're not like us." Darren ignored the words. He didn't want thanks. He only wanted to do what felt right. They walked through the city, past food stalls and shops, until they reached a small building where Darren lived. It wasn't much, just a single room with a bed, a heater, and a place to sit. "You can rest here," he said. Nara looked around carefully, like she expected someone to yell or hurt her. But when no one did, she sat on the edge of the bed and looked at him. "Why did you do that?" she asked in a soft voice. "Do what?" "Buy me. Free me. I don't like seeing people in cages." Darren said, "No one should live like that." She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "Thank you." Darren smiled. "You don't have to thank me. You're free now. You can go where you want, or stay here until you decide." "I have nowhere to go," she whispered. "They took everything from my world. My family, my people. I don't even know if any are still alive." He sat on the floor across from her. "Then we'll figure it out, together, for the first time." Her face changed. She gave him a small, real smile. Not forced, not scared. Outside, the rain began to fall harder. But inside the small room, It was quiet and warm. Two strangers from different worlds had crossed paths, not by fate, but by choice, a choice that would change both of their lives and maybe much more. The next morning, soft light entered through the window of Darren's small home. The rain had stopped, and the sky outside was cloudy but calm. Inside, the air smelled of warm bread and steam from a small kettle on the stove. Nora opened her eyes. Slowly, for a moment, she forgot where she was. No metal bars, no guards, no shouting, just a quiet room with a soft blanket over her. She sat up and saw Darren sitting near the stove, heating something in a small pot. His jacket hung on the wall, still wet from the night before. He turned and gave her a small smile. "You slept long," he said. "That's good." Nora looked around again, her hands gripping the edge of the blanket. I didn't mean to. I didn't know I could. You were safe," he said gently. "Your body probably needed rest." He walked over with a small bowl of soup and placed it on the table near her. "It's not much, but it's warm." Nora took the bowl with both hands. The heat made her fingers tingle. She took a small sip and closed her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Darren sat back down. He watched her carefully, not wanting to make her nervous. She moved slowly, carefully, like someone who had been hurt many times. After a while, she looked at him. "You're different," she said. "How?" "You didn't ask me to do anything. You didn't lock the door. You gave me food, a blanket." Darren leaned back and crossed his arms. "You're a person. That's what people should do for each other." Nora stared at the bowl. Her voice was quiet. "Most don't think that." Darren didn't answer. He knew she was right. This galaxy was full of greed, power, and pain. Humans were not perfect either. But he believed they could do better. After the meal, Nora helped clean the small table. She moved slowly, unsure, but wanted to do something. "Is it all right if I stay for a little?" she asked. "You can stay as long as you want," Darren replied. "I meant it when I said you're free." That day, Darren went out to work while Nora stayed inside. He fixed power units and cleaned old machines in the market's lower quarter. It was a dirty job, but it paid enough to survive. When he came back in the evening, he found the small room tidy. Nora had folded the blankets, cleaned the dishes, and even fixed a torn piece of cloth near the window using thread she found in a box. "You didn't have to do all this," Darren said. She looked shy but smiled. "I wanted to help. You saved me. I can't do much, but I can make the place nicer." Darren gave a small laugh. "Well, it looks better than it ever has." That night, they shared another simple meal. Nora began to talk more. She told him about her planet, Valari. It had green skies and lakes that glowed at night. Her people lived in small villages, close to nature. They sang songs to mark the seasons. Then the ships came, she said. Her voice was flat. They landed without warning. They took people. My family, my friends. I tried to hide, but they found me too. Darren didn't speak. He knew nothing he could say would make it better. He just listened. They sold us in different markets. I don't know where the others went. Maybe we can find out, he said after a pause. Maybe some are still alive. Her eyes lit up slightly. You would help me, of course, Darren said. But we have to be careful. The ones who run these trades are powerful. I'm used to hiding, Nora said quietly. Over the next few days, they fell into a rhythm. Darren went to work. Nora stayed inside, reading old books he had, fixing clothes, and making the place warmer. Sometimes they would walk together in the quiet parts of the city at night. She would ask questions about humans, their ways, their foods, and their stories. Humans are strange, she said once, but kind, or at least, you are. Darren smiled. We're a mix, like most species, but we're strong when we choose to be. One evening, as they shared dried fruit and tea, a knock came at the door. Darren opened it slightly and saw a familiar face. It was Ren, a friend from the market. He was short, round-faced, and always had something to sell. Darren, he whispered, I saw something today. Thought you'd want to know. What is? It's someone's asking questions about a girl from Valari. a buyer who said he lost his property. He showed a picture. I think it was her. Darren's face went still. Who is he? No name. But he had soldiers with him, not local. From off-world. Darren nodded and slipped a small coin into Ren's hand. Thanks. When he closed the door, Nora was standing behind him. She had heard everything. They're looking for me, she said. Double quotes, yes. Darren said, but they won't find you. I don't want to run again, she said, her voice shaking. I don't want to be in a cage again. You won't, he said firmly. We'll leave the city. We'll find a place where no one knows you. Will you really come with me? She asked. I won't let them take you again, he said. You're not alone anymore. That night, Nora didn't sleep much. She sat near the window, looking at the stars. She had been a prisoner for so long. But now, she had something she hadn't felt in years: hope. And she knew that her journey was just beginning. The next morning, the sky over Dravik turned gray. Thick clouds covered the sun, and cold wind moved through the narrow streets. Darren packed his tools, credits, food, and a few clothes into an old travel bag. Nara helped him without asking many questions. Both of them knew what this day meant. They could not stay in the city anymore. The people who were searching for Nara were dangerous. If they found her, they would take her back, and this time, there would be no second chance. Darren looked around the room one last time. It wasn't much, but it had been safe. It had been warm. He saw the blanket Nara had folded neatly and the small drawing she made with charcoal on a wall, a tree from her homeworld. Ready? He asked softly. Nara nodded. She wore a long coat, hood pulled low, her face partly hidden. I'm ready. They stepped out into the street, walking fast but not running. Acting normal was important. Suspicion could bring trouble. The small trader who warned Darren was waiting near a shop with a hovercart. He waved them over quietly. Here, he whispered. Take this. I had a fake IDs and a cover sheet for your names. Say you're traveling to the outer zone to fix power systems. That should work for the first gate. Darren placed a hand on Ren's shoulder. How you? You saved someone, Ren said. That matters more than money. They climbed onto the hovercart. The engine hummed softly as it lifted off the ground. It wasn't fast, but it was steady. Nara sat in the back, her eyes scanning every face they passed. Darren sat beside the controls, his hand never far from the hidden tool blade inside his coat. The first checkpoint came into view. A large gate with metal arms stretched across the road. Guards stood on both sides, tall, armored, and cold-faced. A scanner beam moved across every cart and ship that passed. Stay calm, Darren said to Nara. Let me talk. They moved forward. Slowly, a guard stepped forward and raised a hand. Papers. Darren handed over the cover sheet Ren gave him. The guard looked at it, then at both of them. His eyes stayed on Nara for a little too long. Darren's heart beat faster. She doesn't talk, the guard asked. She had a throat injury. Darren answered quickly. Can't speak well, but she's smart, good with systems. The guard grunted. He held the paper under a scanner, waited for the beep, then waved them through. As the gate opened, Darren let out a breath. The hovercart moved again, and the city slowly faded behind them. Hours passed. Open land stretched ahead, rocks, low hills, and a few dry trees. No buildings, no people, just sky and dust. We made it past the gate, Nara said quietly. Thank you. It's not over yet, Darren said. We still have to leave the planet. He tapped the cart's controls. There's a small spaceport in the West Zone, mostly used by traders and miners. It's not fancy, but if we can find someone there with the right ship, we might get off this world without questions. As they moved farther into the wild zone, Nara finally relaxed a little. Her voice grew steady again. She asked more about the stars, about Earth, about other humans Darren had known. You ever had family? She asked him one evening as they camped under a metal shed by the road. Not really, Darren replied. I grew up in a worker colony. No real parents, just people trying to survive. Nara looked up at the night sky. The stars above were faint, but she could still see a few. I miss the stars from Valari, she said. They were blue and gold, and they moved slowly, like they were dancing. Darren handed her a warm drink. One day, maybe we can find your home again. Nora held the drink close and smiled. If it still exists. The next morning, they reached the old mining town. It looked broken and dry. Most buildings were half collapsed, and the port was small. Just 3 landing platforms and 1 dusty control tower. Darren guided the car to a stop. We'll have to talk to someone. Find a ship that's leaving soon, heading somewhere far. They walked through the area quietly. A few miners looked up but said nothing. Most minds were too tired to care. At last, they found someone. A human woman named Rila, tall with a metal brace on one leg, was loading crates onto her ship. Darren offered to help, and after they worked together for an hour, he asked the question, "Where are you going next?" Rila wiped her hands. Outer Rim, planet called Levos. Not much there, but I've got cargo to deliver. Can we come? Rila raised an eyebrow. Why? We want to disappear. Darren said honestly, we're not criminals, just people, trying to avoid trouble. Rila looked at Nara, who stepped forward and said, please, we'll work. Clean, fix, cook, anything. After a long pause, Rila nodded. All right, I'll take you. But once we land, you go your own way. I don't want extra eyes on my ship. Darren smiled. Deal. That night, the engines roared as Rila's ship rose from the mining port. Nara stood by a small window, watching the ground disappear below. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. They had done it. They had escaped the ones chasing them. But as the stars filled the sky, both Darren and Nara knew that this was only the beginning. Out in the galaxy, darker truths waited, and the people who once owned Nara might not give up so easily. Still, for now, they had a chance. A new world, a new beginning, and maybe, just maybe, a path to something greater than survival. The ship landed on the edge of a quiet town on planet Levos. The air smelled of fresh dust and dry wind. The sky was wide, colored in soft gray and orange. The land was flat and open, with mountains far in the distance. Rila, the trader who had helped them escape, stepped out first. Her boots sank slightly into the dusty ground. She looked around, nodded once, then turned back to Darren and Nara. You made it, she said. From here on, you're on your own. Darren shook her hand. Thank you. We'll never forget it. Nara gave a soft smile. You helped strangers. That means more than you think. Rila gave a small grin. Just try not to bring trouble to this place. It's quiet here, and I'd like it to stay that way. They watched as Rila's ship lifted back into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. Now, it was just the two of them. The town of Telrin was small and simple. Low buildings made of stone and metal, a central water well, and people who kept to themselves. Most were traders, miners, or farmers. No one asked questions. That was good for Darren and Nara. They found an empty house near the edge of the town. It had a roof, walls, and working water. Darren used what little money he had left to pay the owner. In return, he promised to fix broken machines around the town. Nara helped set things up inside. She cleaned the walls, repaired broken shelves, and made to sleeping spaces using old blankets and mats. For the first time, it felt like a real home. Each day, Darren went out to work. He fixed farming bots, patched water pipes, and helped old machines run again. Nara stayed home at first, learning about the planet and its people. She visited the small market, spoke to the shopkeeper, and even helped an old woman carry water. Slowly, the people began to accept her. They saw her kindness and soft nature. One day, Darren came home to find her sitting by the window, looking out at the open land. What are you thinking? He asked. About my people, she replied. About how far I am from where I was born, but also about how close I feel to something new. Darren sat beside her. You're safe now, for now, she said. But I know the slave trade doesn't stop at one planet. You think they'll come here? I don't know, but I do know they won't stop looking for me. Not just because I escaped, but because of who I am. Darren looked at her carefully. What do you mean? There's Something I didn't tell you, Nara said, her voice low. On Valari, I wasn't just anyone. I was part of the Knowledge Keepers. We learned old secrets about healing, about memory, even about the stars. Like scholars, yes, but more. We didn't just read books. We carried the memories of our people, stories, codes, science, even maps of hidden places. Why? Would slavers care about that? Because some of that knowledge is powerful, she said. Some of it can help or hurt. I think someone discovered what I carry in my mind. That's why they didn't just sell me. That's why they're chasing me. Darren was quiet for a long time. Is the knowledge still in you? Nara touched the side of her head gently. Yes, but I haven't opened it fully. It's locked. In layers, only certain people can unlock parts of it with words or songs. Can you access it? Some of it, enough to know they can't have it. That night, Darren stayed up late. He sat at the small table and wrote notes on a pad. He made a list of things they might need if they had to run again. He also made a plan to protect Nara and maybe find others who had escaped like her. But before they could move forward, something changed. A week later, a new ship landed in Telrin. It was black, sleek, and quiet, the kind of ship built not for trade but for hunting. 2 men and 1 woman stepped out. They wore long coats and dark glasses. They spoke little. They asked questions at the market. They showed a picture, a young girl with short dark hair and quiet eyes, Nara. The shopkeeper told Darren the moment he heard. They said they're looking for someone lost. The shopkeeper whispered, said she ran away and might be in this town. Darren kept his face calm, but inside, his thoughts ran fast. He rushed home and told Nara everything. We have to leave, he said. But Nara shook her head. No, we can't run every time. If we keep running, they win. We have to fight back. How? Darren asked. I have something they don't, she said. Memory. Knowledge, I can hide it, or I can share it, but only with someone I trust. Darren stepped closer. You trust me? Nara looked at him. You gave me freedom. You never asked for anything. I trust you more than anyone in the galaxy. She took his hand, then placed her other hand on his forehead. She closed her eyes. A soft light formed between them. Images flowed into Darren's mind, stars, planets, names, faces, symbols. His head felt warm but clear. When she stepped back, he took a deep breath. What was that? I gave you a part of the memory, she said. Now you carry it too. If they take me, you still hold it. You can find my people, help them rise again. Darren nodded slowly. We'll both get through this, together. That night, they packed only what they needed. The hunters were still asking questions, but they hadn't found the house yet. They would leave before sunrise, not just to survive but to search for others, to fight the system that had taken so much. Darren and Nara stepped into the cool night air. The stars above shone brighter than usual, and deep in both their hearts, they knew this was no longer a journey of escape. It was the beginning of a mission. The small ship glided silently through the blackness of space. Stars sparkled like distant diamonds, and soft hums of the engine filled the quiet cabin. Darren sat beside Nara, watching the planets drift past the window. Both of them were tired, but determined. Their journey had begun. Leaving Levos was not easy. They traveled in secret, avoiding large spaceports and known trade routes. Every system had dangerous pirates, scanners, and spies who might recognize Nara. But with the knowledge she shared and Darren's quick thinking, they managed to stay hidden. Nara spent her time teaching Darren about the memories she carried. She told him stories from Valari, stories of hope, peace, and a world where people lived in harmony with nature. She also taught him old songs, words that unlocked parts of her mind, revealing more secrets. Darren listened closely, feeling the weight and power of her knowledge. It was more than history. It was a key to something greater. One day, while they rested on a small moon orbiting a gas giant, Nara told Darren about the network, the vast slave trade that stretched across many worlds. They think it's impossible to stop, she said softly, but they don't understand what we have. We can fight. Darren frowned. How? We're just 2 people. Nara looked at him with steady eyes. Not just 2. You carry my memories now. We can find others who escaped. We can connect, build something strong. They began using hidden communication channels. Messages sent through coded words and trade reports, music broadcasts, and even simple greetings. Slowly, they found responses others like Nara, others who had escaped the chains. One reply came from a woman named Scylla. She lived on a cold, stormy planet called Neras. Scylla had once been a healer in a captive camp. She knew secrets of medicine and survival. Another came from a man named Tano, who had escaped from a fortress on a mining planet called Galar. He was strong and had knowledge of weapons and defense. Each contact was careful, secretive. Trust had to grow like a small plant in dry soil. But each message was a thread, weaving a new network of hope. Darren and Nara planned their next move carefully. They would visit these places, meet these people, and bring them together, not as slaves, but as free beings ready to fight back. But they also knew danger was close. The hunters who chased Nara had sent agents, shadowy figures move in the background, watching ports, listening to conversations, tracking signals. One evening, while studying star maps, Darren's small device beeped. An unknown message had been detected near their position. Someone is close, Darren said. We need to move. Nara nodded. We must be faster. They changed course, heading for a distant asteroid belt. The rocky fields were dangerous, but offered good cover. They hid among the rocks as patrol ships passed. During this quiet time, Nara spoke about her dreams. I want a place where no one is sold, no one is afraid, where we can learn, build, and grow. Darren smiled. A home. Yes, she said. Not just a home, but a family, a future. That future seemed far, but each day they moved closer. When they reached Neras, the cold planet, they landed near a small village hidden in ice caves. Scylla greeted them with warmth and hope. I have seen what happens to captives, Scylla said, but I have also seen strength. You are not alone. The three of them sat by a fire, sharing stories and plans. Scylla told them about a secret underground library where ancient texts about freedom and resistance were kept. If they could access it, they could learn much about how to fight the network. Together, they made a decision. They would travel to Galar next, to meet Tano. Each step brought new challenges, but also new friends. As they prepared to leave Neras, Nara looked up at the cold sky. The stars don't belong to anyone, she said softly. We all have the right to reach them. Darren reached out and took her hand. We will reach them, together. Their journey was long and dangerous, but hope was stronger than fear. Across the stars, a new fight was beginning, a fight not for power or profit, but for freedom. The small group gathered inside a safe room beneath the rough stone walls of Galar's mining colony. Flickering lights from old lamps cast long shadows on the cold floor. Darren, Nara, Scylla, and their new ally Tano sat around a table covered with maps, star charts, and data pads. Their faces were tired, but their eyes burned with determination. Tano was a tall man with scars on his hands and a steady voice. He spoke of the dangers of Galar, the heavy guards, the mining bosses who worked for the network, and the spies who watched every stranger. But he also spoke of hope, the hidden tunnels beneath the mines, the secret places where escaped captives had hidden. We are not just fighting alone anymore, Tano said firmly. We have allies here who want to break the chains. Nara nodded. Together, we are stronger. We carry memories, skills, and hope. Darren leaned forward. We need a plan. The network controls trade routes, ports, and even local governments. How can we stop them? Scylla smiled softly. Not stop them all at once. We begin small. We help those we can. We build trust. We break their power step by step. The room fell silent as the weight of the task settled over them. Days passed, and they worked quietly. Darren repaired broken machines and created hidden communication lines. Nara used her knowledge to heal injured friends and teach them how to protect themselves. Scylla treated illnesses and shared hope with those who had lost it. Tano trained those willing to fight in self-defense and tactics. Slowly, the underground network grew. One night, As they gathered to share news, a messenger arrived with urgent information. A new shipment of captives was arriving soon at the main port. If they moved quickly, they could free some and disrupt the network's operations. Without hesitation, they prepared. The night was cold and dark as the group moved silently toward the port. Guards patrolled in pairs, their footsteps echoing on the metal floor. The captives were held in large cages near the loading docks, guarded by armed soldiers. Nara's heart tightened seeing the frightened faces. But she stood tall, reminding herself of the memories she carried and the hope she fought for. Tano and Darren worked together to disable security systems. Scylla prepared healing supplies. Nara whispered words of strength to the captives, calming them. When the moment came, they struck quickly. Tano and Darren took down the guards at the gates with non-lethal tools. The cages unlocked. The captives hesitated, fear and hope mixing in their eyes. "Come," Nara said softly, "you are free." One by one, the captives followed them into the dark tunnels beneath the port. The team moved fast but carefully. The network's alarms blared moments after they escaped, but the group was already far away. Back in their safe room, the free captives rested. Some cried. Others looked at Nara and the team with gratitude and disbelief. "This is only the beginning." Nara said gently, "You are free now. Together, we will find others and build a new future." The days that followed were filled with work and planning. The network responded with force, sending patrols and hunters, but the group's bond grew stronger. Each small victory inspired others. Darren often thought about how far they had come from one man buying freedom in a market to leading a growing movement. He looked at Nara, whose quiet strength held them all together. One evening, as they gathered by a small fire in the tunnels, Nara shared more memories from Valari. Stories of courage, love, and peace. "We carry the light," she said. "No darkness can take it from us." Scylla nodded. "We are the hope for many," Tano smiled. "And we will not stop until every chain is broken." Outside, the world was vast and dangerous, but inside that small room, a new family had formed, a family ready to face any challenge. The fight was far from over, but together they were rising. The early morning sun rose slowly over the mining tunnels of Galar. Its pale light pushed through cracks in the stone walls, casting long shadows on the tired faces gathered around the small fire. Darren, Nara, Scylla, and Tano sat with others freed, captives, allies, and friends ready for the next step in their journey. Months had passed since their first rescue, and their movement had grown. They had traveled from planet to planet, from shadowed caves to hidden forests, freeing those trapped in the network's cruel trade. Their message spread quietly, but surely, freedom was possible. Nara looked at the faces around her. Many had suffered greatly, but none had lost hope. She felt a deep pride and a burning resolve. The memories of her homeworld, the stories of her people, and the bond she had formed gave her strength. "This is our moment," she said softly. "The network thinks it can control us, but it cannot control the will to be free." Darren nodded. "We have a plan to strike at their main base on the planet Toruk. It will not be easy. They are strong there, but so are we." Tano stood, his voice steady and clear. "We will fight with courage and wisdom. Our goal is to break their power, but also to show the galaxy that no one is alone." Scylla handed out supplies and healing herbs. "Many will be hurt, but many will be saved. We will care for each other." As they prepared, Nira's mind wandered back to her home. The green skies, the glowing lakes, the songs of her people. She dreamed of a day when all could live in peace. That day, they moved out in the quiet night. Under the cover of darkness, the group traveled through forests and rocky hills. The stars above were bright, silent witnesses to their journey. When they reached Toruk, the network's main base was larger than they expected, a fortress of steel and glass, guarded by dozens of soldiers and high walls. But the group was ready. Using hidden paths and secret codes, they approached the base. Darren and Tano worked together to disable alarms and open gates. Nara guided the free captives, encouraging them with soft words and smiles. The battle was fierce but careful. No one wanted to harm more than necessary. Their goal was freedom, not destruction. They freed hundreds of captives trapped inside. Faces filled with fear slowly changed to joy as chains fell away dot at the center of the base. Nara found the network leader a cold, powerful figure who tried to stop her with words and threats. "You cannot win," he said. "You are weak and scattered." Nara looked at him with quiet strength. "You underestimate the power of hope. You underestimate the power of people united." The network leader's face twisted with anger, but before he could act, Darren and Tano arrived with reinforcements together. The group forced the network leader to surrender. The base fell silent. Outside, the free captives cheered. Nara raised her hand. "This victory is for all who have suffered, for all who have fought, for a future where no one is owned." Darren smiled beside her. "This is only the start. We will rebuild. We will heal." Days later, news of their victory spread through star systems. More planets began to stand against the network. The movement grew into a galaxy-wide force for freedom. Nara and Darren traveled together, sharing stories of courage and hope. Their bond was strong, built on trust, and the desire to create a better future. One evening, as they looked at the stars from a quiet hill, Nara said, "The stars are free, and so are we." Darren took her hand. "Together, we will make sure everyone feels that freedom." The journey had been long and hard, but the light of hope now shone brighter than ever, and across the galaxy, a new dawn was breaking.